We've got several items for this year's presentation. First, a review of StoreSat, our uplink in Northern Virginia. Some of you have seen it, some of you have not. Then we've got an answer to a question that people in the TV division have been asking for over a year now. And before we wrap it up, we'll make a brief stopover at the Promised Land. StoreSat went on the air in September 1981. That name, incidentally, was coined by our friend, the late Saul Tayshoff, when he ran the first item about it in his broadcasting magazine. StoreSat is a combination of a feed facility at the News Bureau on Capitol Hill, a series of microwave links to the transmitter in Virginia, and the uplink itself. This 10-meter dish propels our signal 22,300 miles into the air to Westar 4 or Satcom 3 or just about any domestic satellite that's available. It's as trouble-free as any technological marvel can be, and its signal is strong and clear. StoreSat cost about $500,000. It's proving its worth. We've fed 3,000 items to our TV stations over this system. Had we sent that many pieces on Delta Dash or Eastern Sprint, as we once did, it would have cost $125,000, plus the courier charges to get the tapes to and from the airports. Admittedly, using satellites costs money too, but the benefits are great. We've done 300 live feeds on StoreSat at a fraction of the cost of telephone lines. And we've generated a little money. When StoreSat went on the air, such facilities were in short supply, so we shared it with other broadcasters for modest fees. With several common carriers now selling that service in Washington, we don't share our system much anymore, but in the first couple of years of operation, StoreSat brought in about $100,000. And it will serve us well for years to come, especially as it becomes more and more a link to all the cable systems. So that's StoreSat. Now to that question that our TV people have been asking. Whatever happened to Ken Bagwell? Well, since he drifted over the horizon to that netherworld that is cable, he has been reborn into a talk show host.
Hello and welcome to our Uplink conference.
He's sort of the Carson of cable, and Alan Thicke of pole climbers, the fatherly Merv Griffin to all those CSRs. Ken has as facile talking churn, BSUs, and PSUs as he once was talking huts, putts, and avails. And he has a stable of scintillating guests.
We begin to break that penetration barrier.
And that, ladies and gentlemen, is what we spend our time working at here in Miami.
I know that's true. There has been a massive effort to modify and streamline the process.
It's a serious challenge, a vital concern to all of us.
Conflict and misunderstanding inevitably occur.
We organized a steering committee for that purpose. So come on, folks, together, let's make it work. That's it for this time. We'll see you on our next Uplink conference.
Uplink is, in addition to Ken's Pathway to Stardom, a monthly in-house presentation of the cable division, a very effective way of communicating with so many outposts. I should have seen this coming the first time he knocked me off an editorial in Cleveland back in 1964. Oh well, now on to the Promised Land. 3 years ago, I stood here bragging about this view and promising that we would use it for stand-ups and live shots. And sure enough, as of 5 months ago, we can. We had to do a little building, we had to do a little wiring. That meant we had to jump through some hoops. The architect of the Capitol, the Fine Arts Commission, the building department of the District of Columbia, Amtrak, whose executive floor we must traverse to get here, and the management of this building, which at times has been less than helpful. But here we are, and it is a handsome view, and along with a number of our fellow broadcast tenants, we are handsomely prepared to use it. And there's one more new wrinkle. It's a mural for our small studio, speaking of handsome views. We use that roof location in good weather, but when it's raining or blowing or snowing, we stay right here. We also stay here when we work odd hours, as Marilyn Burkle did for KCST 4 weeks ago. That was a story worth staying up for.
It's a dream come true for San Diego sports fans and business people. The city has landed a Super Bowl. NFL owners voted late tonight in Washington to stage the 1988 Super Bowl here in San Diego. Our sports director, Al Keck, is here with more. Al.
Dennis, it was not a surprise that San Diego received a Super Bowl, but the fact that they'll get it in 1988 did raise a few eyebrows. Everyone expected 1989, especially after Pasadena was given the 1987 Super Bowl. So California will have back-to-back Super Bowls. Marilyn Burkle from our Washington Bureau has been covering this story all day and all night. It is now 2 o'clock in the morning in D.C., but Marilyn has a live report. Marilyn?
Al, you know, after Pasadena was selected for the 1987 Super Bowl, it did seem very unlikely that the league would come back to Southern California 2 years in a row. So the San Diego Super Bowl task force was probably just as surprised as everybody else when Commissioner Pete Rozelle made the announcement.
For 1988, the city selected was San Diego, California.
It took 8 ballots to make that decision, but a majority of the owners were eventually convinced that San Diego was a super city.
We gave the league owners exactly what they wanted. We told them the facts. There were no flowers involved in it. We went right down the line and were specific on all the issues, and I think they appreciated that, and they gave us the award.
One of the happiest people tonight was Charger owner Gene Klein.
And we pledge that San Diego will give the fans of America the best Super Bowl they have ever seen. We're terribly excited, and we've got to go home now and really get to work on it.
One of the people who'll be going home to get to work on it is Assistant City Manager John Lockwood.
This interview continued with questions both from Marilyn in Washington and Al and Dennis in San Diego. But we have to move along to our finale. Last year I mentioned 2 Democratic presidential candidates we intended to follow, Senators Alan Cranston and John Glenn. Neither quite stayed the course. But there was another angle for us to examine, an unusual Cleveland thread that connected the campaigns of the remaining 3 candidates. It was one of the most enjoyable stories we worked on all year. We close this presentation with it. To the Democratic Party, Denver offers a candidate. Chicago offers a candidate. Afton, Minnesota offers a candidate. Cleveland provides a general in every camp. Oliver Pudge Henkel, Cleveland attorney, is campaign manager for Gary Hart. Arnold Pinckney, Cleveland businessman and civic leader, campaign manager for Jesse Jackson. Maxine Isaacs, Shaker Heights, former aide to Congressman Louis Stokes, is press secretary to Walter Mondale. She's worked for him since 1973.
This is his chance. There's some exhilaration in that. I think it keeps your adrenaline going. I think he'd be a great president. I'm a believer.
Henkel and Hart went to law school together. Henkel has dabbled some in local politics, but his inexperience in national campaigns seemed to appeal to the senator.
What I've been able to bring to it, because I'm new, is a certain freshness, a certain flow that others who are hired guns for politicians might not have brought to it.
Pinckney planned to work for the Reverend Jackson, part-time, in Cleveland. But Jackson wanted more, and finally, Pinckney couldn't resist.
I could not miss being a part of history, and I think this is very historical.
They compete hard, but they maintain a special kinship.
I commiserate with Arnold from time to time, and we feel that we're brothers in the bond.
They are proud of their common origin.
It's really good for Cleveland to have 3 people from one city to be playing a significant role in a national campaign for the Democratic candidate. And I think it speaks to the political sophistication of Cleveland and Ohio.
Isaacs has a theory why there's a Cleveland brain truster in each camp.
There must be something in the water.
Norm Wege, News Center 8, Washington.
Okay. Thanks, Norm.